rather eat a dead human being or have sex with one? Well, Jeffrey Dahmer did both. Jeffrey Dahmer is an infamous serial killer, cannibal, child molester, necrophiliac, psychopath. He is called by some the modern-day Jack Ripper. I have been particularly fascinated with Jeffrey Dahmer ever since I read and researched about him when I heard about him last year in the Kesha song, Cannibal. I want to educate you guys on Jeffrey Dahmer because people like him exist and we need to watch out for them. I'm going to share with you Jeffrey Dahmer's life, everything from his neglected childhood to his murdering rampage and eventually his arrest and death. Jeffrey Dahmer was born in Ohio, and according to his classmates, he was the loneliest kid that they had ever met. One of his friends in high school named Deft Backderf is now a famous cartoonist, and he has since made a comic book about Jeffrey Dahmer called My Friend Dahmer. And according to this, Deft says he was a double-minded teen with divorcing and neglectful parents. Jeff's grandma also recalls as a kid that he would bring animals into their house and dissect them in the basement. So he's always been a little messed up. He moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and finally, back up a little. Ever since the age 14, Jeffrey Dahmer has had homosexual tendencies and fascinated of killing men and sleeping with them. And then when he finally moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, he put his thoughts into action. His first victim, his name is Stephen Hicks, and this occurred in 1978. He was at Dahmer's apartment, they were hanging out and drinking, and then when it was time for him to go, Jeff couldn't stand the thought of him leaving, so he killed him and slept with him. Yikes. He wouldn't kill another person until 9 years later, and this guy's name was Stephen Tuomi. He started dismembering their bodies and keeping their skulls and other body parts as souvenirs / trophies. By the summer of 1991, Dahmer was killing one man per week. In order to preserve their bodies and make them zombie-like, he would drill holes in their head and fill them with hydrochloric acid because he wanted youthful, submissive sexual partners. Also, all of his victims were males that he would pick up normally in gay bars. May 27, 1991 was a day when 14-year-old Konrak Simplesphone, he was discovered on the street at around 4 a.m., naked, drugged, and bleeding from his rectum. 2 women saw him and called 911, and when the police got there, Dahmer came down and calmly and collectively told the police that he was his 19-year-old lover and that they had been drinking and gotten in a fight, but everything was under control. And the police, with no further questions, handed the boy back to Dahmer. Had they done a background check, they would have discovered that the boy was only 14 years old and not 19, and that Dahmer was a convicted child molester still on probation. And that night, Dahmer killed Konrak. And I found out that info from TrueTV.com. Dahmer's final victim was named Tracy Edwards, and it was on July 22nd of 1991. Tracy, with the handcuffs on one hand, escaped Dahmer's apartment and went and got the help of 2 policemen, brought them back to Dahmer's apartment, which is now infamous, apartment 213. Everyone lived there. In the apartment, the policemen discovered photos of mangled, dismembered bodies everywhere, and when they opened the fridge, they saw a skull, and so they arrested Dahmer. And Dahmer was sentenced to 15 consecutive terms in prison on count of 17 murders. He went to a prison in Wisconsin, and there he claimed to be a born-again Christian, and a local pastor agreed to baptize him in prison. In 1994, Dahmer's fellow inmate Christopher Scarver attacked him with a broomstick, and he died of severe head trauma. According to Dahmer's obituary, Scarver claimed that God had instructed him to kill Dahmer, and he was just obeying. Since Dahmer's death, his parents have kept their last name, and they say that they love him despite everything. His father, Lionel, wrote a book called A Father's Story and donates half of the proceeds to the victims' families. And his younger brother, David, changed his last name and lives anonymously. So now that you've learned about Dahmer's short-lived yet eventful and disgusting life, everything from his childhood to death and everything in between, you know that psychos like him exist and to watch your back.